Hello, welcome back to our X4 Foundations tutorial series, episode 4. This is going to be showing the cockpit a little bit. One thing I wanted to show you ahead of all of that is how I have my layout here. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, hello, this is my joystick camera here. If you've watched any of my playthroughs in X4, you'll recognize this. This is my throttle. This is my stick, and this is my touch portal app on my iPad, which controls my recording and also some of my controls in the game. I don't use a keyboard and mouse generally for this game, but I will strive to do that when we start out in the cockpit because I do want to introduce people who are not necessarily using a stick and throttle. But just so you're aware, this is how I play stick and throttle, and I love it. I highly recommend it. It makes the game a whole lot more immersive, and it's a lot more fun. But if you are using a mouse and keyboard, it is also still pretty cool. X4 and all of the X games, Egosoft, the developer, is really, really good about designing good mouse controls for their sims, especially for their cockpits. So it's really good if you're using a mouse. You shouldn't have too much trouble, but I highly recommend at least a joystick or a controller. But if you can pull it off, stick and throttle is the best way to go. Okay, so here we are. This is a station that we're in here, and that's a guy, some random NPC. This is a little control screen that we can use to deal with our the ship that we have here. We can rename it, redesign it, and so on. We won't be doing that just yet. We'll get to that at some point. But we're just gonna walk on over here to our ship. I started with the Young Gun game start, just so we could do something very basic and vanilla. This is our little ship here. I'm going to walk up here. Boop, 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 boop.
Elite Vanguard.
And then you walk over here, and you click, and take command of your ship. And we turn off the tutorials there. Okay. So, when you are sitting in your cockpit, when you're docked, you have this quick menu as your options. I'll go over a little bit, but mainly what we're going to be doing here is just undocking. So you can transfer wares to and from the ship. You can get up out of the chair, which we're going to do here. We can get ship information about our ship. We can buy ships if we're at a wharf or a shipyard. We can trade with the station. We can upgrade and repair if we're at a wharf or a shipyard or an equipment dock. And then we can switch modes. Travel mode, scan mode, long range scan mode. Those obviously only work if we're actually out in space. But what we're going to do here is we're going to undock. And now, because I am not an expert at using the mouse, oh God, I'm going to get myself out of the station the usual way, the way that I know how, before I try showing off the mouse controls. Okay, so now we are outside the station. That's where we just came from. And we're just going to sit here and block traffic for a little bit while we talk about what we're seeing on the screen. So, first up, top to bottom, these little icons here are indicators for other ships. So if we kind of fly over here, there we go. You get, what a great scene to take in as you're beginning. Look at that. Okay, so we've got a nice big capital ship here. We see these little pips to show it the scope of that, where that ship is. And then we have these little icons showing what type of ship it is. You'll get used to that over time. You can see some more moving down here farther away, and that's why they're not showing up as being like they're targetable, but they're not showing up as marked by the HUD. If we select one,
Behemoth E.
It'll tell us, and then it'll show information here. So let's go down a little bit farther. This here is the targeting reticle. And this is where my gun fires. You can see that little dot right there. A little white dot indicates where my gun is firing. If I am using... Didn't mean to do that just yet. Let me see. There it is. if I'm using mouse control, middle button to fire, it will fire where that little dot goes to a degree. There's only a certain amount of gimbal that the gun can do. And so you can see the little white dot doesn't go all the way to where my mouse is, just part of the way. This little box, this little, like, pitcher's box kind of thing here. Okay. Next thing to show you is the velocity indicator. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to accelerate a little bit. And now you see there's this other little ring that comes around the outside of my targeting reticle. Now, if I turn, you see how it moves like that. It drags behind where I am because that's where my nose, that's where, or I should say, that's my direction of travel, not where my nose is pointing. So if I go really fast, I go like this, it takes some time to make the full turn to catch up so that my direction of travel is the same direction as my nose. So that's what that is for. And it only pops up if I'm actually in motion. And you can see down here, this is my speed indicator, shows both meters per second and also my speed based on a relative marker to my max throttle, which is over here. And then I'm slowing all the way down to that. On the keyboard, this is done with X and Z. Yeah. The other thing you can do is boost, and if you have a boost control set and you hit the boost key or button, everything will turn blue, and that means you're now in boost mode. And then it will slow you down when you get out of boost mode, and now I'm slowing down to 0. And you can see also the actual speed that I'm at is marked by this light white line here, this gray line. This is what I'm setting it to, and this is what the actual speed is. And this blue sheath around that line is my boost energy. It used to be that boost energy was taken from the shields, but they had a poll in the forum, and they asked, hey, would you like us to switch it to just having its own energy? And everybody pretty much said, yes, we love that. So now there it is. If I hit the boost, you can see the boost energy drops on its own until it's all gone, and then I lose boost. And then it slowly builds its way back up again. Okay. Next down here is going to be hull and shield. White line is hull. Blue line is shield. Right now it's at 100%, so it's all the way from left to right, like a little smile. And then over time, if you're losing shield or hull, it'll disappear from this side. And if you go down to here, boom, you're dead. For shields, it'll go down to here, and then once it gets to 0, then hull will start to go down. There are some weapons that can bypass the shield or partially bypass the shield and hit hull while the shield is still up, but most of them don't do that. So you will have ample time to deal with the problem. Shields do not immediately regenerate. If a shield is hit, it will drop to some amount of shield left, and then it will sit there for a little bit and then start to regenerate slowly over time. The speed at which the shield regenerates and the delay before the regeneration starts depends on the type of shield and the type of ship that you're flying. Shields can be swapped in and out, but a lot of it is really dependent on the type of ship that you're flying. Next up is FLR. This is the flares, the chaff. This is the countermeasures. Right now I have none, so it shows 0. If I use a flare, if I use a countermeasure, it'll tell me, boom, flare. Okay. Here we go. Moving and stopping. So, these little markers here are a variety of different things that'll indicate. I believe this one is indicating full stop, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. The ones you really are going to be paying attention to, I think this one here is collision detection turned on or off. I'm not 100% sure, but again, the main thing is flight assist turned on and off. And then this one here, let me see if I can really quickly. There we go.
Factory.
Do I have auto turned on here? There's my guidance. There we go. Autopilot.
Engaged.
The autopilot marker is right here that tells you that your autopilot is turned on. These are the two big important ones.
Disengaged.
The flight assist on or off, and then the autopilot on or off. Those are the messages that you're going to be paying attention to most of all. All right, let's find... Okay, move along here. Now, the next thing to look at down here, bottom left, is messages and missions. So you'll get messages from missions and various other things down here. And you will also be shown... let's see if I can... A good one. Is there one available? None yet. Okay, maybe we'll have to go do that in a second. You'll also show... It'll show you what your mission is currently if you have one selected. And it'll tell you kind of how to get to your target. We'll talk about that once we get to missions, which will be when we look at the map. Then over here on the right side is the information screen for anything that you have targeted. So right now, we are targeting the Advanced Composite Factory. It shows that we don't really know anything about the station. We do know that it's 100% hull. We don't know how much storage it has. We know that it's producing something, or we don't know much about it other than that. We also know that it's an Argon Federation station. It belongs to the Argon faction. Down here in the middle is the radar, and you can see the way it's set up. It's a radial radar, radial map mode that shows you stuff that you can see within a certain range. It'll show you stations.
Mercury.
It'll show you ships. It'll show you gates and various things like that. You can use the mouse to select them if you want.
In Carcaccia, Vanguard.
And you are in the center, and this here is your visibility zone, pretty much. So if I select that ship there, it's right on the edge of my visibility, right there. And now it's directly in front of me. The other pieces of this radar are showing you the orientation of your ship relative to the main map. -X, -Y, +X, +Y. And then this dotted ring here kind of helps you figure out your orientation in terms of roll. So more or less like this means that we're flat along the plane of the map. But the game doesn't demand that you do that. It doesn't auto roll unless you turn that on, and you can fly around however you like. Obviously, it's 3D. And in the beginning, although stations will tend to be very close to the plane of the ecliptic and be kind of on a flat field, that is not necessarily the case. You can build your stations far off of the central plane, and stations built later on by the game itself, by the AI, will often be off the plane as well. So you may end up having to fly up or down off the plane quite a bit. Next up, I'm going to show you the other options for the radar. So this is radar mode 1. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not the button. It's the button. No.
Elite Vanguard.
Oh, did I not set that? Hang on a second. I'm going to have to go reset my control. Okay, here we go. Normally it is, I believe, Control M, but I like having it on my throttle. So here we go. This is radar mode number 2, which is essentially the same as the first one, but a little bit closer in. So not as much distance visible. You can see that the orientation ring is farther out. It's the same distance. It's just that now you're zoomed in a little bit. Next up is going to be the sector map, but oriented to where you're pointing. And then finally, the whole sector,
Requesting permission to dock.
but not oriented to the way you're pointing, just oriented to the universal map. Okay. Next up are going to be the munitions, the guns. So you have primary weapons over here on the right side, secondary weapons over here on the left side. You can switch between them with a toggle or a selector. So for example, there are 4 options on primary and 4 options on secondary. Right now, this ship, being super new, only has 1 gun. And so you can see over here, it's this particular gun, whatever that icon is identifying. And if I switch to weapon group 2, nothing happens because there's no weapons on that group. If I hold down my gun, you can see the heat increasing on the right-hand side there. This particular gun is not the best example, but there are a lot of weapons that will overheat really, really quickly. And if they get too hot, they will stop firing and they will need to cool down. If I let go, it cools down. You can set pretty much any weapons you want that you have on your ship to secondary or primary, but typically the idea is you put all of your laser, ballistic, or bullet type weapons on one side, and then maybe your missiles on the secondary. But if you don't have missiles, then maybe you just do different types of primaries. It's entirely up to you. So then the last thing to look at is this little menu here, which is going to be options, player information, which we'll talk about when we look at the map in the next episode, ship interactions, which is what I'm actually going to be getting to in a minute here, and then the map, encyclopedia, and tutorials. All right, so ship interactions. This is similar to what we saw when we were docked, but now we also see the weapon configurations. And as you can see here, I have 1 small pulse laser Mark 1 set to primary group 1. I can also set it to any other groups that I want. Let's say we want to do that. So group 1, group 2, it's not on group 3, it's on group 4, and then back to group 1. And same thing with the secondaries. I can, let's say, I want to do this. How do I want to, yeah, let's just do it like this. That's fine. Okay, so primary weapon. It is showing, obviously, that it's heating up on the left and the right because it's only 1 gun. But I can use either my primary or my secondary gun button. So let's do this. Oh, that's a mission. Here we go. So, primary gun. It's not currently set over here. Switch, switch. Okay. Now I can fire it. We'll see more of this when we have multiple weapons and different types. We'll revisit this, but hopefully it is fairly clear how that works. You can also specifically set which weapon group you're currently working with by selecting it here. All right, and then the last thing to look at now, now that we actually have a mission option available to us, I'm just going to do this. He's going to talk. But here is what I wanted to show you as well. this is telling us this is what we want to do for our mission: join the Alliance forces at the inactive gate, and we want to fly to second contact. And then the mission is telling us how to get there. And so we just follow the instructions to get where we're going. All right. I need you to stop talking, buddy. Thank you. All right. So that is the cockpit. Pretty straightforward. I did mention, I think in a previous episode, that you could set the radar to be integrated with the info panel on the right side, in which case the radar would just be showing up on the right panel. But if you do that and you do have and you have no object selected and the panel goes away, then the radar will also go away. So you just be aware of that. I personally think having the radar in the center is the better option. It just stays up all the time. All right, so that's it for the cockpit. I managed to keep this under 21 minutes this time. And next time we'll take a peek at the map, which is really where people start to... honestly, that's where people start to lose their shit when it comes to playing this game. Because the map, it's a lot. Just going to say it straight up, it's a lot. But once you've figured out the vibe of how the map works, then it is your best friend, and it turns out to be pretty handy. So, thanks for watching. See you next time.